Alright guys, so here's part 2 of the Neo Tokyo storefront that we'll be working on. What we'll do is we'll finish up the rest of this facade here. We'll make a top area and we'll start working on the cables, which you see represented here in some of the scaffolding. And eventually, the third part, we'll talk about the signs and how to work on the signs and so forth. Alright, so again, we're just doing this particular area right here. We're not doing the whole thing. Although if we build this smart and modulate it like you see me started here, you can actually build the whole environment. You would just apply a different material and texture to each part. And yeah, believe it or not, you can get that whole thing built. Alright, so we got this part here. So what we're going to do, we can see that it has the facade. We have this area here. And we, you'll notice, excuse me, a little bit of asthma there. You'll notice we have a glassed off area here and a glassed off area there. And some of this we could do with texture eventually, and some of it we can actually have some simple geo. And I'll show you how we can approach that. Number one, you'll notice this is kind of pulled out. Now again, you don't always have to fit and make it look exactly like the original artwork. You always have the luxury in 3D if you're working off someone's concept art to do a little bit changes. Now this is outside of an actual pipeline. In a pipeline, you'll have to negotiate. They'll say, hey, you know, I want you to draw this and make this, and if you're going to go outside the lines a little bit, check with your art director so they don't punch you or anything like that. I know it sounds like violence, but you never know. All right, so let me go ahead and get rid of this guy. We don't really need him. He was for example purposes. There's our scale reference. So you could probably make him a little bit taller. My image probably could use a little bit more opening on the z-axis there. There we go. Take a look here. Cool. And let me see if we need to open it a little bit more. I think we're okay. I mean x-axis, excuse me. Cool, cool, cool. I think we're good. All right, so let's go back to our environment here of our model. So you'll see again, and I'm keeping the image a little bit open so I can actually look at it while I'm working. And I have this all set up for you guys too, so you don't have to stress about it. Again, you're going to build stuff the way that it's actually built in the real world. So what I can do here straight up, I can go in here, and this can speed things up. We'll make our cube here. Let's open it up a little bit. Hit the W key. Move this over. And you'll see it has a framework on the top and on the bottom, so we can actually treat this a little bit like what we have right here. So you don't have to slap them in. Now you can slap in the frames. There's a couple ways you can approach this, and I'll show you two different ways. Let me do Control D, move this over. Alright. So one of them, I can go in here, go to faces, grab each face except the top one for obvious reasons. So I can grab each one of these faces here and extrude them, but when I extrude them, you want to set your properties to keep faces together off. And when you turn it off, when you extrude, you'll see that they have a separate look to them, because if you don't, they will still be attached. So we're actually making it so when we extrude, the faces are disconnected. And let's take a look at what we got. So we're going to click on the middle, or you can click on one of these icons to get the middle icon to pop up. So just click on just once, and you'll see the little blue one show up there. I can now scale it down. Now the glass is a little bit indented, so what I can do from here is extrude one more time. And this time with the blue arrow, push it in ever so slightly. Now the nice thing about this, each one of these faces, when they are selected, I can actually separate them if I want to and build this thing like it actually is built. Believe it or not, there's no harm in that, and it actually can help you be able to track your texture a little bit easier and be able to mark areas where they begin and end, like where the dirt will begin on the glass and end. And you'll have like a framework, and you'll see kind of what I'm talking about. Now we can leave this as a whole, but I'm just imagining somebody walking by. So we'll go in here and we'll extract that. So we'll go to Mesh and we'll go Extract. Let's go to Object Mode. And you'll see now we have the glass in here. And we can apply a new material to this. And the new materials can help you visually get an idea of what you're going for. We probably don't need the back of the glass, so we're going to remove that temporarily there. Notice we have a bottom, which works really nice. So we grab this guy, and this guy, and then just we'll assign a new material. That new material can be, I don't know, we'll do blend. In that blend, we'll have a defining color for him. So we'll just do maybe a very slight blue, just barely there. And we'll also do a little transparency for him to make him look like he's transparent. Look at that. Pretty cool. So we got that right there. Not too bad. And we have the beginning, and we have even the edge of this guy, and actually works pretty well. So you can see that we have the same box type of shape here. And if you want, you can even make another little piece of geometry. You can see it's kind of right by the woman's head. And I'm not really sure what that's there for. Maybe it's the line to pull down. It's probably the illustrator, when he drew it, made a line to pull down the cage. So that's up to you if you want to keep that in there. But now that we have this, we can go in here, and if you want, we can simply parent these pieces to him just to make it easier to select, and hit P. So I selected all the windows, selected the bottom, the framework last, and I hit P, and that gives my makes that whole thing parented together. I can slide them into position, move them over, and this also allows me to scale it down if I need to scale them down just a little bit there. Scale it down, and we'll change our positioning for the scaling here. So we're going to change our pivot point by hitting insert, moving that down. I'm just going to eyeball it for now. Hit the W key, move that back into place, and let's hit the R key, scale it down just a bit. Hit the W key again, move it down, make it flush with the ground, and move this over. And the nice thing about these guys being parented together, and this is actually the really cool bit about this, is I can go in here, and if I need to, I can select this guy, and if I wanted to, I can extrude them up, and with them being parented, they'll play nice together. Now that's all up to you whether you want to be careful not to lose that silhouette or not. But I think in this case we can probably get away with that. Pretty close. And voila, we got the first part of that facade, and we have a transparent window, which is kind of cool. Now we can duplicate that and do the same thing on the other side. And again, we'll just go Control D, move it over. Oops, my bad. Control Z there. Move that over. We can move this guy right here, and you'll notice he's a little bit longer. So what we can do is go in here, right click, and do vertices. And the windows may not come along at first, but we can actually get them to snap later. Let's see if it does come along. Nope, they don't. I didn't think so. So you go over here, move that back. We have a window for him. And if you want to bring that the glass along, we can just change our angle of view and grab the glass. There we go. Move the glass over. You can just eyeball that for now. And let's go to Object, grab him, move him over a bit, just a tad. Gotta make it so the guy can close his window, right? And this one you can do the same thing. Oops, there we go. Move that over just a little bit. And you can move them at the same time if you want. That's completely up to you. So we'll do the same thing here. Move them at the same time. Pretty cool. So we got a little area here where the guy shows off his wares, and we can actually, I noticed a mistake on the illustration. His lights go all the way across and go through some of his glass. Like this might, it's hard to tell. This might partially be glass and also a stock warehouse. So this may just be primarily his little glass window. So yeah, I mean, you can keep this if you want, and if not, you can leave it. It's up to you. But the lights here may be intersecting where this is supposed to be showing off wares. So again, there's a lot of creative license when it comes to a concept art. So they might be changing that stuff around. They just make it up. They just go for it, and they figured you as the artist will interpret how that's going to look. So it's up to you. I mean, we can leave that right there and just put a bunch of crap in there, or we can just save that for another shot. We can use it as a modular piece. So that's the first part there of what we got. So finally we can use the roof. So we're going to actually use this guy. We're going to whore him out real quick. Squeeze him down. And that's the squeeze noise if you're wondering. There you go. Move this over, hit the W key, slide this over here, and drag it over here. And then look at that. I just eyeballed that pretty well. That's actually pretty good. And there's the ceiling that we have. So anytime you have a shot that you want to try to match up with some concept art, sorry about that, the little movement there, what you can do is use a thing called bookmarks. So we can go in here and do view if we want to keep this shot right here. And if it helps, you can even rotate your image for it. I'll keep my finger on the J key to let that happen. I forget about this sometimes too. And you can go in here and bookmark the shot. So we can go in here and say bookmarks, edit bookmarks. We'll say, I don't know, cool shot. And we'll do apply. So the nice thing about this, and say you're completely drunk and you're like working and you don't know what to do, you can remember where that's at, and you go bookmarks. Maya will remember it for you. And cool shot. Bam! There we go. There's a little Tokyo downtown. This is the smallest resident there is, so we can make him look a little bit taller. There you go. Fix our little widget. Cool, so there we go. We have the ceiling and we have the glass items. And again, if you don't want the glass item here, you can move that over. Make that a little bit deeper for the warehouse if you want. We can bring this part in a little bit. So remember, it's all about smoke and mirrors. So I can go in here, grab this, move this, and make it so that's just in the beginning of our warehouse. We can even do the same thing with the other one. Shift, grab those points, and just move them at the same time. And mine is nice enough if they're not touching each other. It makes it a little bit easier. You can scale those down, and that can just be the front of it. And then we can make it a completely encapsulated room. And the reason why, again, doing this is great because you can actually have a nice, believable scene where your textures begin and end. And you can modulate this. I can use this. I can make one of these and instance duplicate it in my scene. And if you're using a game engine, you can prefab it and you can use it over and over again, which is pretty cool. Now my door is probably going to need a little slide-in window, right? So I can go in here, or sliding area for that the main door that slides down. Maybe, you know, it's at the end of the night, doesn't want any more customers, gotta help the guy out. So we can literally build this like it actually is built. So I can scale this down a little bit. I can move it over just a tad. We'll just do this ever so lightly. Scale that in. That's about enough. Move it over just a little bit more. And then I can scale it up a little bit. And it's up to you how far you want to take it. You can just take it like almost at the bottom, because maybe it just has a lock or something. It's your world. We're just paying rent. And then from there, we can go in here and extrude that inward. What? It's like it really exists or something. That's crazy talk. And you can decide how wide you want that to be. So you can expand that by simply just grabbing the different faces on here. And remember what we did before when we grabbed faces on both polar sides? You can go in here and just kind of open them up this way. There you go. You can see it fits into that area. Now, whether it's perfect or not, that's up to you, how you want that to go. You'll notice the concept art, the door kind of runs into the lip, and that's kind of why I kept mine the way it is. So that's up to you how you want that to look. And again, the cool thing about this, you can put the dirt and grime in that region, and then you can also put associated dirt and grime. Back in the day when I started in games, all this stuff would be kind of welded. But now, as polygon and faces increase, like the engines will be able to calculate them more and more, you can pipe shove. In other words, what that means is you can just put pieces together and you can modulate it. You can build whole entire environments, and each single piece can get the love that it needs in Photoshop to be able to be textured. So again, the whole theory here is how to model your models and to make it so it's easy to be able to texture them and make a whole world and a whole system. And from here, there's our glass window. So if we don't want to do that whole glass thing, which you saw me do just a second ago, we can go in here and just make another, make a wall for that guy. Give it a little more thickness to it. So we'll just make another wall. And we'll increase it up. And I'll move it over. Here we go. And we'll see it has some depth to it, so we'll actually push this back. And I'm going to move this guy out of the way, because you saw that example from the last demonstration. Let me hit the F key real quick, so we can focus on an object. You can do that per face too. Move that out. Kind of imitate how this kind of goes back a little bit. Probably doesn't have to be that strong. And then from here, you can build your 4 walls. Now you can build them all connected, or you can snap them together. And I'll show you that theory real quick here. So if you want to build it all connected, I can go in here and extrude them. The only thing is, it doesn't really, you may not be able to recycle this like you want, because it's very detailed, it's very specific for this region, because we're actually opening it up, and then from here we'd probably extrude it one more time and go in here and push that in, and then you would remove what needs to be removed. Now again, the downside about that, this particular piece needs to be broken up further to be able to be used anywhere else. Otherwise, it's just unique to this area. So, I mean, that can be used, or we can do this. And again, I like showing you guys multiple ways to do stuff because every scenario is a little bit different. And that needs to be taken into account, especially in our industry. So we go and pull this back here a little bit. And let me go in here. And we can actually just use him as framework, as our space. This makes it just a little bit easier. And I'll make another wall. There we go. Pull that up. And I'm going to go in here and hit the insert key. Keep my finger on the V key. And remember we did this before? We snapped our corners together, right? So I'm going to do that. Hit insert. And I can keep my finger on the V key and snap him into place. And it'd probably be easier if we move them both backwards. There we go. Grab him, keep my finger on the V key. There's our first wall. And I'm only using it as like a negative space marker. You don't necessarily have to do this way. But this helps me be able to place everything into place. Grab this guy, Control D. Keep my finger on the V key. It's up to you how much you want that to connect. And we got that guy all set up. We got the wall on the other side. And I'm going to leave that at that depth is fine. And from here, if we wanted to cheat a little bit, we can remove some faces and just extrude this guy. That can make things a little bit faster. Or you can simply grab one of these guys and Control D. Keep my finger, hit our E key. Keep my finger on the J key. And when you do, you snap your rotate. Sometimes Maya will glitch out and keep that snap on, which is kind of annoying. But nothing you can't get past. Oops, Control Z. I'm going to lift them up a little bit, so just easier to isolate. And I am now going to move him down a little bit there. Oops, my bad. We'll keep it inverts, it's fine. Because I just need to grab the edge of this dude. And actually, let's move him up just a little bit more. Boop. There you go, buddy. And you can always test this out from the side. And you know what? It can help you a lot too, especially if you want to modulate. You can do snap to grid. Snap to grid works pretty well. You can turn that on up here. And this allows you to actually make your vertices and everything come into place. I have it on right now, so you'll see it snap to grid, which is pretty convenient. Sometimes it gets a little weird at first, but you can fix that simply by going in here and say, hey dude, don't be stupid. You go here, and you go here and shut your face. You can get that to do what you want. When you have more than one point, it can get a little bit weird, so I'm going to make this a little bit thinner than normal. That's fine. So you see we got that all snapped up just by using our snap to grid, which is pretty cool. Now if it isn't long enough, I'll just go back in here and go and do snap to grid again. Oops, my bad. And you'll notice it's literally going to go to our grid. So that can be tricky. So your other items will probably need to be snapped to grid too. So we'll go in here and grab the things we need to grab. And you can have this guy snap to grid. Now again, I'm just using him as a stencil, but I'm showing you multiple ways to keep these in alignment. Watch this though. We go to vertices here, grab these vertices. I can keep my finger on the V key and I can snap him into place. Now unfortunately it's going to go to the middle. Is that necessarily bad? No, not really, because we can eyeball the rest of it from here if we want to. I could snap this guy, keep my finger on the V key, and snap him right there. Do the same thing here, keep my finger on the V key. I'll snap to his middle, grab it right here, keep my finger on the V key, and I'll snap to his middle. And you'll notice we have a nice even breakdown of this, and we can now get rid of our little mini stencil in the middle. And in this guy, if we want to, we have the luxury here. If we want to, we can probably get rid of this guy, and I just kept him just in case we wanted to use him. But I can probably get rid of him because he's not really seen. And then this guy, if I want, I can scale him in a little bit. And move him back. Oops, my bad. Still on snap grid. Take that off. Cool. So there we go. We grab these two pieces here, and we can move them in to our scene. And then we go back to our view that we like. Cool shot. And we can have the beginnings of our world here. And let me actually move this over a little bit. There we go, buddy. And we can go in here, and I can actually probably slide this guy over just a tad. This guy can be the outside wall, and we can grab some vertices for him. I can just eyeball it because I know what's going on the side. There you go. So we now have the interior, and if we want, we can even make another back wall here. Control D, keep my finger on the J key. Sorry about that, hit the wrong key there. Snap that at a 45-degree angle. Move this back to my scene. And grab the verts. Pochow! There's my back wall. Move it in a little bit more. And no one is the wiser. Cool shot. Da-da-da. And you can pull this back as far as you want to pull it back to give the little suspension of disbelief in your scene to make people feel that it's alive. Okay, pretty cool. And from there you can populate it. You can put the shelves there. I mean, this looks like it's fairly back pretty far. So again, that's completely up to you. So I can actually move that back farther if I wanted to. And as a result, I can make it look like it has more depth than it really does. I can even do the same thing with the ceiling. And this guy could borrow that wall because I'm a total cheater. You'll find yourself cheating a lot in 3D because you want to fool the eye. It's suspension of disbelief. You want people to think that your world actually does exist. And you can use these as Legos and build more and more up on your scenes. It's up to you. But you'll see we did this really quickly. We even got the partition here for it slides down. We got this guy built from earlier, and we just did some quick walls, and we made a glass deal. Cool. So we're going to move on to the part 3 of this video series, and you can check it out. All right.